For centuries, certain books were read, copied, and respected by early Jewish and Christian communities. These writings were not marginal or obscure. They circulated openly among believers, scholars, and religious leaders who viewed them as meaningful expressions of faith, history, and spiritual understanding. Some of these texts were read aloud during gatherings, while others were carefully copied by hand and preserved across generations, long before the Bible existed in the form we recognize today. Yet today, these books are missing from the Bible. They are not found between its covers, nor are they commonly discussed in traditional teachings. This absence was not the result of chance, accident, or simple forgetfulness. Rather, it was the outcome of a long historical process in which decisions were made about which texts would define belief, authority, and doctrine. These are the stories of the books that were left behind. To understand why certain writings were removed, it is essential to understand how the Bible itself was formed. The Bible did not appear suddenly, complete and unified. It developed gradually over more than 1,000 years, shaped by different cultures, languages, and historical circumstances. The texts that would eventually become scripture were written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, across regions that included ancient Israel, Judea, and the wider Mediterranean world. In the earliest centuries, there was no single, universally accepted Bible. Early Jewish and Christian communities relied on collections of writings that varied from place to place. Some groups emphasized prophetic texts, others focused on wisdom literature, letters, or accounts of Jesus' teachings. What one community considered authoritative, another might view as secondary or symbolic. As Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, these differences became increasingly significant. With growth came the need for unity, clarity, and consistency. Leaders began to ask difficult questions. Which writings accurately represented the teachings they wished to preserve? Which texts supported the emerging structure of belief and authority? And which ones introduced ideas that were considered confusing, controversial, or destabilizing? By the 4th century, these debates led to the gradual formation of what is known as the biblical canon, an official list of texts recognized as scripture. The process was not a single event, but a series of discussions, agreements, and exclusions that unfolded over time. Texts were evaluated based on factors such as perceived authorship, consistency with accepted teachings, and widespread use among communities. Those that did not meet these criteria were slowly set aside. Among the excluded writings was one of the most influential and mysterious ancient texts, the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Jewish work attributed to Enoch, a figure briefly mentioned in the book of Genesis as someone who walked with God. While the biblical reference is short, the text attributed to Enoch is expansive and detailed, offering visions of heavenly realms, divine judgment, and cosmic order. It presents a universe populated by spiritual beings and governed by moral laws that extend beyond human understanding. One of the most striking elements of the Book of Enoch is its account of the Watchers, angels who descended to earth and shared forbidden knowledge with humanity. According to the text, their actions disrupted the natural order and led to widespread corruption. The book describes the consequences of this transgression, including divine judgment and the eventual restoration of balance. The significance of Enoch cannot be overstated. Fragments of the text were discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls, confirming its widespread circulation in ancient Jewish communities. Even more remarkably, passages from the Book of Enoch are directly referenced in the New Testament, particularly in the Epistle of Jude. This indicates that early Christian writers were familiar with the text and considered it authoritative enough to quote. Despite this influence, the Book of Enoch was excluded from most biblical canons. Its complex symbolism, elaborate angelology, and unique cosmology made it difficult to align with the theological frameworks that were taking shape. Over time, it was deemed unsuitable for inclusion, not because it lacked importance, but because it challenged emerging boundaries of doctrine. Another text that raised profound questions is the Gospel of Thomas. Discovered in 1945 near the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi, the Gospel of Thomas is a collection of sayings attributed to Jesus. Unlike the canonical Gospels, it contains no narrative of miracles, crucifixion, or resurrection. Instead, it presents short, enigmatic statements that emphasize insight, understanding, and inner discovery. Many scholars believe that some of these sayings may preserve very early traditions, possibly as old as or older than parts of the New Testament. Others argue that the text reflects later spiritual movements that emphasized personal enlightenment over institutional authority. Regardless of its origin, the message of Thomas is distinct. It presents spiritual truth as something discovered within, rather than something mediated through hierarchy or doctrine. This perspective posed a challenge to early church leaders who were working to establish consistent teachings and structures. A text that emphasized individual interpretation over collective belief was seen as potentially destabilizing. As a result, the Gospel of Thomas was excluded from the canon. Closely connected to this debate is the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Though the surviving text is fragmented, it offers a striking portrayal of Mary as a central figure among Jesus' followers. In this account, she receives teachings not shared with others and demonstrates spiritual insight that surpasses that of some male disciples. The text depicts tension between Mary and figures such as Peter, reflecting deeper disagreements about authority, leadership, and legitimacy. The Gospel of Mary suggests a model of spiritual authority rooted in understanding rather than position. For communities moving toward structured leadership, this message was difficult to accommodate. Over time, the text was marginalized and excluded. Another significant work is the Book of Jubilees, a text that retells the stories of Genesis and Exodus with added detail and interpretation. Jubilees introduces a structured sacred calendar and emphasizes strict observance of divine law. It was highly respected in certain Jewish communities and widely circulated, as evidenced by its presence among the Dead Sea Scrolls. Despite its influence, Jubilees presented alternative chronologies and interpretations that conflicted with other accepted texts. As canon lists became more fixed, it was excluded in favor of writings that aligned more closely with dominant traditions. One of the most vivid forbidden texts is the Apocalypse of Peter. This early Christian work describes the afterlife in striking detail, portraying both heavenly reward and divine punishment. Its imagery influenced later concepts of heaven and hell and was widely read in early Christian communities. At one point, the Apocalypse of Peter was seriously considered for inclusion in the New Testament. However, concerns arose about its graphic descriptions and the potential for literal interpretation. Church leaders ultimately favored texts that emphasized doctrine over dramatic imagery, and the Apocalypse of Peter was excluded. The removal of these books was not simply an act of censorship. It reflected broader historical priorities. As Christianity evolved into an organized institution, unity and authority became central concerns. Texts that supported these goals were preserved. Those that introduced ambiguity, alternative authority, or complex symbolism were set aside.
Yet the forbidden books remain invaluable. They reveal a diverse and dynamic early religious landscape, where ideas competed, evolved, and influenced one another. They remind us that religious history is shaped not only by belief, but by decision.
These texts invite us to look beyond what was included and consider what was left out. In doing so, they deepen our understanding of the Bible, of history, and of the complex process through which meaning is preserved. This has been Hidden Scripture.